Всем привет! Давайте немножко подождем, 5 минут и начнем сразу. Все, так, давайте потихоньку будем начинать. Извиняюсь за задержку. У меня из-за того, что я поменяла свой ноутбук, слетела программа, мне пришлось ее заново устанавливать, но с ней была кое-какая проблема тоже. Ну, вроде бы все наладила. Конечно, немножко здесь inconvenient для меня, но надеюсь, все будет хорошо. Пожелайте мне удачи. Изначально хочу спросить, меня хорошо слышно и хорошо ли меня видно? Если честно, я запарилась, только что прям полчаса сидела, не могла это все настроить. Из-за этого у меня вообще голова в другую сторону уже ушла, но я сейчас уже настроюсь. Сейчас постараюсь настроиться. Со своего телефона я буду смотреть чат. У меня должен быть чат. Сейчас быстренько проверим на наличие чата. У нас открыт он. Да, все, он здесь есть. Окей, все. Простите. Где мне его найти теперь с этой стороны? Сейчас. Почему-то я его сейчас не вижу. Я поняла, почему. Смогу ли я его здесь читать? Сейчас, ребята, 5 сек. Пожалуйста, 5 секундочек. Пять секундочек, пожалуйста, подождите, и я к вам вернусь. Все, он у меня здесь есть. Все настроила, все cool, все хорошо. А то я уже испугалась. Так, всем привет, всем привет. Слайд тоже хорошо, things okay, quality is perfect. Ура, наконец-то. Все, давайте начнем. Если честно, боже, у меня голова прям заболела из-за того, что я это все только что настраивала, я перенервничала, поэтому давайте все, забываем о всех проблемах, фокусируемся на эфире. Давайте еще раз со всеми поздороваюсь, всех поприветствую. Если честно, сейчас для меня эфир волнительный. Почему? Потому что все максимально мне откликается. Скоро я тоже сдаю IELTS. И я максимально понимаю всех, кто сейчас готовится. Я еще не начала готовиться, но, в принципе, я думаю, что готовиться буду где-то за неделю. В основу буду брать свой курс. Но в целом, даже если я еще не начала готовиться, у меня в голове постоянно это есть, то, что я должна зарегистрироваться на экзамен, то, что мне нужно начать что-то писать, что-то там делать, там практисы порешать. Из-за этого, даже если, например, я в себе 100% уверена, что я все напишу, наберу выше балл, чем мой последний, все равно у меня с головы это не уходит, я продолжаю об этом думать ночью, днем. Из-за этого я вас очень сильно понимаю и хочу вот сказать то, что эти эфиры, они нацелены на то, чтобы хоть как-то вам помочь разобрать именно форматы, дать побольше советов. Мои эфиры, как знаете, всегда без воды, четко, сразу к делу. Поэтому вот, можно чуть громче, я постараюсь хорошо чуть громче разговаривать. Так. И вот сегодня у нас особенный эфир, потому что я такое еще не проводила. То есть я постоянно провожу эфиры в общем про IELTS, да, на все 4 критерии. И последние 2 эфира у меня были про рейтинг. То есть мы написали рейтинг тест 1 и рейтинг тест 2. Но на этот раз я решила сделать спикинг. Почему? Потому что многие у меня это спрашивают, как спикинг подтягивать самостоятельно. Не у всех есть возможность, да, находиться в спикинг environment, English speaking environment. Из-за этого я как бы хотела поделиться несколькими техниками, которые вам помогут. Вот. Так, давайте я сейчас открою. Ой, это у меня несовершенный. Окей, вот этот слайд, да. Давайте я вам расскажу сначала о себе, да, для тех, кто смотрит меня через Telegram, для тех, кто на меня не подписан в Instagram и кто будет в дальнейшем смотреть эту запись в YouTube. Так, меня зовут Томирис, здесь моя более красивая картинка, это мое такое go-to фото. Вот, но в жизни я выгляжу примерно вот так вот. Я educator, то есть первоначально я себя позиционирую как educator, а это человек, который обучает людей. То есть я не учитель, не обязательно учитель где-то в школе, да, для кого-то. Я больше educator, я даю как бы I educate people, да, от слова educate, то есть teach and educate are different things in my opinion. Я думаю, что моя такая главная цель — это вот нести знания, not necessarily by teaching someone, but educating on different subjects, any kind you want. Вот, и это видно, моя жизнь так, знаете, зарослась вся в этой сфере, в education сфере. Я интерпренер, предприниматель, то есть у меня есть школа по подготовке к экзаменам, онлайн-академия, называется Tomiris Academy. Мы готовим студентов Назарбаев университет за границу, проводим консультации, проводим уроки IELTS, уроки NUET, SAT, то есть все возможные экзамены у нас есть. То есть если вы ищете какой-нибудь центр для подготовки, вы можете писать мне, и мы вас с радостью проконсультируем. Вот. Tomiris Academy существует уже, представляете, уже почти 1,5 года. Вот, за это время у нас было несколько курсов IELTS и очень большое количество курсов по NUET. Вот. Также я ассоциирую себя с блогингом. Многие меня знают и слышат именно от этого. Спасибо за ваши милые комментарии. И получается, я активна в Инстаграм, там делюсь своей жизнью, делюсь советами, так что можете больше посмотреть обо мне там. Также у меня есть ТикТок, но его я особо не продвигаю, я там видосики закидываю, так что, если интересно, пожалуйста, добро пожаловать. Дальше я new student, учусь на Назарбаев университете. Моя специальность — это political science, так что если у вас есть вопросы по political science, вы можете писать мне, это международные отношения, такой fancy name. Учусь я уже на 4 курсе, из-за этого, собственно говоря, я и собираюсь сдавать IELTS, потому что я буду поступать дальше в другой университет. Вот. I'm a cat lover, обожаю кошек. В целом сейчас также начинаю любить собак. К животным очень-очень хорошо отношусь. Мой собственный балл IELTS 8. Сдавала я его еще 3 года назад. Сдавала IELTS несколько раз. Первый мой был 6,5, потом я подняла до 8 самостоятельно. Вот сейчас мой каждый день — это просто английский язык. Если честно, он мне как родной. Мои друзья-свидетели, я часто с ними разговариваю на английском языке, потому что мне просто так легче. Вот. И сегодняшний эфир, кстати, я буду проводить primarily in English. Okay? Надеюсь, это не возникнет проблемы из-за этого. Вы видите, у меня русский язык ломается, я иногда путаю грамматику на русском, но я надеюсь, вы не будете обижаться к этому, и я постараюсь донести свою мысль правильно. TBU — это to be updated soon, как я вот уже сказала, у меня скоро будет заново сдача. Я еще не регистрировалась, но я хочу сдать вот в ближайшие 2-3 недельки. Вот, начну готовиться, сразу сдам. Health enthusiast с последнего года, с последних нескольких месяцев я очень хорошо слежу за своим здоровьем. Очень такой enthusiast, потому что это не professional, да, чисто на своем энтузиазме держится это, вот. Больше обо мне можете узнать в моем инстаграм, он называется Amanzholova. Почему-то я сюда его не добавила, я очень спешила, делала этот слайд, так что простите. В этот раз я подзаморочилась, захотела сделать все красиво. Первый раз. Вот. Получается, начнем мы с того, что я расскажу вкратце о вот этих вот 3 секциях, о райтинге, ридинге и листинге. Такой brief analysis сделаю, после чего плавно перейду на speaking, то есть фокус сегодняшнего эфира будет на speaking, okay? Итак, the first section is usually reading, and it consists of 3 passages. Да? То есть у нас есть 3 текста. The passages are more or less the same, of the same length. However, they are varied in difficulty. Что означает разный level of difficulty. The first one is easy, the second one is medium, and the last one is the hardest one. Okay, you'll be given 60 minutes overall to finish the task, and it includes the transfer time. Okay, so you have to be careful in this way that you have to be able to transfer your answers from, if that's a paper based, right, from your paper answer, from your paper to the answer sheet. Okay, and so the most important thing on how to prepare for reading is to use strategies. For strategies, you can use any kind of textbook. There is a there are all sorts of textbooks available for reading and listening. Personally, I got to improve my reading and listening to 9.0, so to the maximum point, by myself, by just reading a lot and practicing. And my recommendations are, I didn't write it here, I'm sorry, use either Cambridge or Barron or Collins in order to get the idea of what is reading and of what these sections are, and how to prepare, the basic structures, the basic strategies are given. Okay, and equally important is to work with your mistakes, and some people don't understand what that is. It's like, okay, so my I got my answers, right? Like I have 20 out of 40, and you briefly look, okay, this should be not A but C, and this should be D, not A. Okay, I worked with my mistakes. But this is not actually how it works. So working with your mistakes means actually looking back to the reading, to the passage, opening it again, reading the text again, reading the question again, and thinking why your answer is wrong, and secondly, why this answer is right. So what is wrong and what is right? This is what I call work with mistakes, okay? And also, reading is about your vocabulary, okay? Reading is about your vocabulary, it's about your ability to paraphrase things. Okay, so whenever you don't understand your reading passage, it means that you just don't have enough vocabulary to understand the text, right? So, for example, if you know all the words, you'll be able to just easily read everything, understand, and just finish the reading in less than 60 minutes, right? But whenever you have very little vocabulary, you experience troubles understanding, and it takes more time, and you have mistakes, okay? And if you recall, reading questions are mostly paraphrased, meaning that the question asks something but in different words, of what is actually written in the paragraph. Okay, so you're so that you're reading, what was I saying? I'm just reading the chat, and parallel people are asking to speak louder. Okay, I will try. So yeah, the ability to paraphrase and know a lot of words. Turning to listening has 4 sections, and these sections are varied in the format, means that in one section, in the first section, there's going to be 1 or 2 people speaking, and they're going to just slowly repeat the information one by one, just be Okay, so this is a hotel reservation. My name is Tomiris, which is Tomiris. Okay, so you have to just write it down. The first section like is very easy. The second section is usually like a dialogue between 2 or 3 people. And like what I mean by varied in the format is that in the first like 1 people speaking, in the second 2 people, and then lastly like the fourth section is usually like a lecture or something theoretical, something scientific. So that's why it's more difficult. Okay. So some of the strategies on how to learn listening is to approach each format. So learn how to actually work with the first section, with the second section, with the third section, with the fourth section. And also you should know that there are different like questions, right? Types of questions. And you have to be able to know the strategy for each type. For example, for MCQ question, what do? You find your keywords, right? You find your keywords and you like try to listen to catch these keywords, right? And for example, for the first task, you have to be able to work with your spelling, how you hear numbers, how you hear names, how you hear letters, right? And this is what the strategy is. Okay. Also, prediction is the first strategy. You have to learn how to predict. This is something you have to write down and look up on the internet. There are plenty of sources available online for free for everyone, and you just practice. So for listening, the one of the most important things is to listen multiple times, which means that you have to okay, questions. I see your questions. I'm going to answer them later. For example, you do your listening once, right? You do it just by listening, by predicting, la la la. Let's say you finished it once, but you don't know, like, out of 10 questions, you're not sure with 5 questions, 5 of them, right? And these 5 questions, in order to get them right, you have to listen it again. So it is absolutely normal to re-listen, meaning like listening multiple times the audio when you're preparing, right? So you have to understand that on the real exam, you're not gonna listen it several times, right? It's just gonna be only once. But nevertheless, you have to, while preparing, you have to catch everything and just work with your multiple listening. Try to look at the subtitles if available. That's super important. And again, work with your mistakes. Okay. And for the writing section, the structure is the key. So structure means that you have to know, for example, if it's writing task 1, you have to know how to write line graph. Or like for writing task 1, it's rather easy, like, introduction, overview, and the main body. But for writing task 2 is more difficult because you have to know like the difference between all the tasks. Essay tasks, for example, if that's agree disagree question, you're going to have your thesis in introduction. If that's a problem solution question, like in the first body you have your problems, and in the second body you have your solutions, right? So this is what I mean by structure. Work with criteria means you have 4 criteria for each of the questions, like for each of the writing task, right? And you have to know what are the criteria for writing task 1, what are the criteria for writing task 2, and whenever you finish your writing, check what kind of what band would you get, especially if you have no one like to consult to check your work. Okay, if you're using self-study and no one can check your work, take the criteria for IELTS writing task 1 and 2, both of them, and check them by yourself. Okay, this is the most you can do. And also, you can watch my last 2 videos, 2 lives about writing with a deep analysis online, like during our live session. I wrote 2 tasks, so I think that was extremely helpful, and yeah, so you can do that as well. Yeah, thank you guys for your messages. I'm trying to just keep an eye on it, but mostly I'm going to focus on what is going on here, okay? So for speaking, watch the live till the end. You'll know all the strategies. Unfortunately, I didn't have enough time to finish my slides, to style them better, but hopefully I'm going to explain it to you. So if you're a visual person, I'm sorry. It's not that, like, the format is not that good, but I mean, hopefully it's gonna be okay. Yeah, so today we're going to look at parts separately, like each part separately, part 1, part 2, part 3. I'm going to give you some of the, like the, how to say it, the theoretical part, if you wish. Yeah. And later we are going to like practice. Okay, I'm going to give you like an opportunity to type it down, okay, to send me your answer. Okay. And I know that for part 1 I wrote a lot of things. I got carried away with the part 1. I wrote like 6 slides on part 1, and then I was like, shoot, I need to write part 2 and 3 as well. So okay, we have a lot of things to cover today. Speaking part 1, what you have to understand is that this is primarily about you, about yourself, and the person will not ask anything about others or anything that doesn't cover yourself, okay? And you have to answer personal questions. One of the like mistakes of students is to either talking for too long or talking for too little. So how much is enough? Usually it's 2-3 sentences maximum, okay? 2-3 sentences, and it also depends on what is the question, like what is the list of the question, like the order of the question. Yeah, the order, I think it's correct word. So let us start from the very beginning. Let's say you came to IELTS. The first thing they're going to ask is, good morning, my name is Tomiris Amanzholova. Can you tell me your full name, please? This is the beginning. You're going to say, yes, my name is Tomiris Amanzholova as well. And then they're going to ask you, how can I call you? Or you can right away answer, my full name is Tomiris Amanzholova, and you can call me Tomiris. Or whatever, like if you say call me an eggplant, they're going to call you an eggplant. Okay, so and after that there is gonna be like a small introduction, be like, hey, this is like a speaking exam, and then they're going to ask you, okay, Tomiris, do you work or are you a student? So usually the first part is the first question is very like introductory, and it should be answered shortly, okay, just concisely. And the question could be about, do you work or are you a student? Or it could be, do you live? It could be about your house, apartment, or it could be about the countryside or the city. Do you live in the countryside or a city? So these are like 2 questions that are very common. However, I kind of get that this first question is more common than others. That's why I presented it to you. So let's see. You come, you say la la la, you can call me Tomiris, and then you're gonna ask, do you work or are you a student? Here, depending on what you do, you have to answer. And for example, if it was me, I would say, I am a senior student at Nazarbayev University, and my field of study is political science and international relations. As simple as that. You don't have to carry away, okay, so in 2018 I got admitted to Nazarbayev University. I got through 4 years of school, foundation program, blah, blah, blah. So you don't need to say anything like that, okay? Just simply, I am a student here, that's all. And I assume the majority of you are like high school students. That's why I just mentioned here another possible option, like I am a high school student and I'm going to graduate next year, or whatever suits you, okay? If you work, you can say I work at a consultancy, or my occupation is this and that, okay? Depending on what you answer, there are going to be next questions. So assuming that I answered, I am a senior student at Nazarbayev University, my question could be, why did you choose to study that major? Because I mentioned my major. If I just said, I am a senior student at Nazarbayev University without mentioning my major. The possible question could be, what is your major? Or what is your area of specification? Okay, these are just possible questions. And why I think it's important to analyze them now is because this is what the majority goes through. Okay, so are you a student? Yes. No. What's your major? And then, Tommy, привет. And then, like, my field is political science, and then why did you choose to study that major? So then I answer, the main reason I decided to choose political science as my area of specialization is that, as silly as it sounds, I wanted to become a president when I was a little girl. However, now I just think that I have always been curious about how things work on an international level. As a result, my major contains a variety of international political studies that make it very engaging. So here you can see the answer is longer, right? The first thing that we notice. And this is, for example, how I would answer it, but you don't have to say, like, extend it to 4 complex sentences. You can just minimize it to 3, okay? Say something like, I just think that I've always been curious about my things at national level. Yeah, I think this is a nice answer. Sometimes could be too long, but if you say it fast, and like, what I'm trying to say is that if your level is like this, if you are a confident speaker, then that shouldn't be a problem in part 1, okay? But usually it's like 2-3 sentences. Next, the question should be, do you like your major? And how would I answer? How would I answer, for example, this question? Do you like your major? There are several ways, right? Just you can simply say, yes, I do. But what we try to do in part 1 and generally in speaking is to give extended answer. Extended, yet not too long, okay? And you can say something like, it depends. I would say, no, not it depends. We should say, I would say yes and no. Yes, because as I said before, I'm very curious about international politics, and that's the field that I see myself in the future. However, the study format at Nazarbayev University is not the best because of multiple assignments that I get, for example. Okay, just a very random answer with 2 points, yes and no, or you can just say yes and just finish with, I'm curious about international politics. So yeah, it really depends on how you want to phrase it, okay? What's on your mind. And the most important thing from here is to be prepared for this question. And then some of other possible options is to get asked, what subjects are you studying? If you're, for example, a school student, you can say, I'm studying math, like history, anything. What are your favorite subjects at university? Or it could be changed at school. Okay, what are your favorite subjects? So then what are your future study plans? And one thing is that if you get carried away with the answer and give too long, they might not ask you both 1 and 2. For example, if I ask you, what subject are you studying? And you said, I studied this and this and this. From that, my favorite subject is this and this. This is because na, right? So you give me extended long answer, then I can no longer need to ask you, what are your favorite subject, right? Because you already answered that. So keep in mind that everything is changeable and the examiner has a right to go to any direction he or she wants. What are your future study plans? Also here you're going to talk about that and some other variation, like for those who choose that they work. If you say like, I work here and there, you can be asked, what are your responsibilities, or what did you choose to do that? Why did you choose to do that type of work, and what do you like about your job? Okay, so the purpose of this slide was to emphasize to be prepared for these questions. Okay, now diving into part 1 strategies on how I work with them. So the next part of your writing, or I mean of your speaking task, is you're gonna answer 2 or 3 more topics. Okay, so let's say the first topic is like job and studies, and then they're going to choose another topic from this list that I mentioned. Actually, there are more of the like there are more topics than I mentioned here. These are just the most common ones, like the ones that I saw from the recent speaking task. Friend, teamwork, holiday shopping, website, apps, mirrors, art, headphones, cars, and getting lost. So you can see that some topics are not common, like in the real one. It's not something you would talk about in your real life. For example, you won't get asked, "How often do you look into the mirror?" The mirror is like, this is a very weird question, right? No one asks that. But on IELTS, you're gonna have to answer that, or how many apps do you have in your phone, and you have to be prepared for these weird odd questions. Okay. So some things I want to highlight is to look into topic specific vocabulary and the grammar of the question. I'm going to explain what that means in a moment. So the first one is topic specific vocabulary. Whenever you get asked a question on a certain topic, they're going to say something like, now let's talk about environment. Do you think, how do you look after your environment, for example? Okay. You have to firstly identify the topic. And here, since they said like, let's talk about environment, the topic is environment, right? And guys, there are some common topics, and this is the list here. So if you learn vocabulary on these topics, it's most likely that you are going to be asked these questions, topics related to these questions, and you'll be able to answer them. So what I'm trying to say is that please write down this list of topics, write down your vocabulary to those topics, and learn them by heart. Whenever you're going to practice your speaking, the majority of the questions are about these topics, and you have to know some vocabulary related. Like, for example, technology. What kind of words are related only to technology? Like, for example, artificial intelligence, AI. This is only related to technologies, right? Or it could be IT. Oh, I'm sorry. IT and technology, I think it's the same thing. Sorry for writing it again. Like crime. For crime, you can say crime rates. You can say some thieves and burglars, right? Write down your vocabulary for this. And I have one example here. How to actually get and where to get these questions from. Whenever you're going to prepare to speaking, you're going to most probably prepare for all other sections as well, right? So for reading and writing and for speaking, and when you're going to do your reading, we're talking about reading. So this is one thing. Writing, IELTS is academic, right? And your reading is academic as well, right? And your speaking is, you want to, it's not academic speaking, it's just speaking, but you're most probably going to use your academic language. How to get your topics, the easiest way is to get your vocabulary from your reading text. Why is it the best strategy? Why do I think it's the best strategy? Is because, firstly, you're going to have your topic written in the paragraph. For example, can you identify the topic in this reading passage? Can you write it down to the chat? Just read this passage and tell me what is the topic, what are topics? What are some possible topics? So the reading is going to use vocabulary only related to this topic, okay? So there are going to be so many words related to this. The education gender gap. And in order to understand what is going on in the paragraph, you will still have to learn vocabulary, right? But if you learn vocabulary in groups, saying that this vocabulary is for group this, this vocabulary is for group this, you're going to remember it easily, and you are going to have like better, it will be easier for you to actually learn them and remember, recall. Okay, so people say the topic is gender. Yes, the topic is gender. And, for example, what else could be the topic here? So basically the title says itself, right? The education gender gap. So the topic is education plus gender plus gender, education, that's all. So this is taken from my IELTS course. The way I do it is here. You can see. Let me show you. Just a sec. Okay. Here you can see that this part is reading. Okay. Before reading, I give this vocabulary. I give vocabulary related to education and gender. For example, performance, achievement. These two words are related to education, right? And the words like gender gap are related to gender. Segregation is related to gender, right? Put blame on. These are like lag behind. Very like good vocabulary that was used in the text. I give it before the text so that students can learn words and while reading the text can understand what's going on in there. Okay, and I specifically mentioned that this is our education plus sexual plus like gender sex topic. Okay, and that's how they associate these words with the topic, and the next time when they're gonna be asked questions about education and gender, they're gonna answer it very easily. Okay, will you save the live stream? I'll try to save it. Yeah, it should be saved on YouTube, but I hope so. Okay, next slide is question grammar. Okay, so the second thing to pay attention at is the grammar of the question, and most importantly in part 1 you're going to be asked questions such as, have you ever helped someone who got lost? For example, this is the example question from part 1, and mostly people answer something like, yes, I have helped someone. They say something like, yes, I helped someone last year, or like yesterday I helped my friend who got lost. Okay, this is a very typical answer, or just saying no, I didn't help. Yeah, so let's consider this. Have you ever helped someone who got lost? And you say no, I didn't. Here the mistake is in the grammar. Okay, so what I'm trying to say here is that in any part, not in particular part 1, they're going to ask questions in certain grammar, right? And you have to think about the grammar and give the answer that is related to this grammar. So the examiner is not just asking these questions out of the blue, right? He or she wants to test you on how well you know, how well you understand this grammar. For example, the first one, have you ever helped someone? Which grammar is it? Can you tell me which grammar is this? Have you ever helped someone? And the next one, would you prefer to play in a personal garden or a public garden? Which grammar is this? Or which grammar we need to use to answer this? Which grammar we need to use to answer, when was the last time you went to the supermarket? What kind of grammar we need to use to, in the future, do you want to live in the countryside? This one is tricky. And the next one is, what kind of car do you want to buy in the future as well? Like the one before, do you like traveling by car when you were a child? I think it should be, did you like, sorry. So we know that's present perfect, right? And so when the question asks you a question, when like the examiner asks you a question in present perfect, you have to demonstrate your ability to answer a question in the present perfect as well. Okay, examples. Here I have 2 examples, and let's see. Have you ever lost your way? So this is, as we said, this is present perfect, right? And so I am trying to test you. Do you know how to use present perfect or not? So you can just say, no, I didn't. I didn't is incorrect. If you want to say no, you should say, no, I haven't. Because your auxiliary is have. You should, no, I haven't. But here the question is a bit different. The answer is a bit different. What did I say? Frankly, I am not the kind of person who can navigate himself or herself easily. I don't have a sense of direction, so I always have a hard time finding the right way to the place. Even on my way here, I have lost my direction 2 or 3 times. Okay, so the question is why the question asks in present perfect, have you ever lost your way? And the answer is because it's experience. Okay, it's about experience. What does it mean, experience? Something we experience, something that happened to us. Okay, please notice that experience doesn't include any dates. For example, if I ask, did you lose your weight today? Like, this is past simple because I say today. Okay, and firstly, I used present perfect in the last sentence in order to demonstrate that yes, I understand your question and I can use present perfect. Secondly, I used topic specific vocabulary. So, and whenever you answer, there should be a combination of two. Topic specific vocabulary. What kind of topic here we mentioned? What kind of topic here we have? We have like losing the way, direction, something like cars, right? So you need to identify this topic and use words that are related to losing ways, directions, navigations, la la la. And next, you should use your grammar as present perfect. So here I said, I'm not the kind of person who can navigate. Navigate, it's a word used in this context. I don't have a sense of direction. A sense of direction, it's like, what was the translation? I don't remember it, but I know you understand. Have a hard time. It doesn't necessarily, it is not necessarily related to the to this topic, but I think it's a good phrase, so that's why I highlighted it 3 times. The right way to the place. Even on my way here, I have lost my direction. So I thought related grammar. Yeah. So I think you understand. Now, my task to you is to answer these questions this one question in the comments. Firstly, think about what kind of grammar you can use, and I already put some grammar that you can actually use, so yeah. And secondly, think about some of the vocabulary. Just sample vocabulary is given here, but you can use any kind you want. So the question, in the future, do you want to live in the countryside? So you can see that the first part is given in present simple, right? Do you want to, right? However, it also has in the future. So should you use present simple? Should you use future tense? And here, using I want to live na 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 is correct. Yes, it is very correct to say I want to live in the countryside, but there are better ways of doing it. Okay, so I want you to use either I would like to, or I wish, or if I have, I will. This is conditional, the first conditional. And these are just words for you. Send me your answer, just 1-2 sentences here to the chat. 3 sentences max, okay? I'm going to wait for you. Yeah. And while I wait, let me bring myself a cup of water, okay? So I'm going to be back shortly. Okay, I'm back. Guys, don't be afraid to text. I think you might need a little bit more time. We have a very nice content ahead of us, and I'll really try to. Why did you leave me? I really try to keep it short, okay? But I just want to share these things with you. Is there one brave person who will send me the answer? Come on, guys, I believe in you. Let me go through the questions first. Эфир сохранится. Я постараюсь сохранить эфир. В основном YouTube сохраняет их автоматически. Если вдруг что-то не так пойдет, я сообщу. Quality is perfect. I'm so glad. Нравится ваш голос? Спасибо. Можно еще writing and listening. Writing собираюсь сделать еще один, да. Listening я просто не знаю, как делать. Найти эфир по writing можно через мой YouTube. То есть вы сейчас смотрите на моем YouTube. Если вы нажмете на мой YouTube, там видео выйдет. Здрасте, разницы между гофото и жизнью нет. Спасибо большое. Вы милашка, спасибо. Курс Панует будет уже через 2 недели. Да, или через неделю. Когда у нас? Короче, продажи будут вот очень скоро в Инстаграме, можете следить. Все записи в такое время выпадали его до 8. И как я подняла, я буду рассказывать в Инстаграм уже завтра. На английском идеально было бы, да. Can someone explain again, please? Okay, so what I want you to do is to send me your sample answer. So answer to this question. In the future, do you want to live in the countryside? And I want you to use either I would like to, or I wish, or if I have, I will. Okay? And these words that you can say. Okay. You should answer to the second question. In the future, do you want to live in the countryside? If there aren't any people who want to send the answer, then I'm just going to skip this part because I don't want to give it away. If you will send it to the chat, I'll gladly read it. Okay? So, let's go. Number third. No, I think it don't say number third. A third thing, I think this is correct. A third thing is to remember is that paraphrase is the key, but you have to make it fit. What does this mean? Is that it means that we have answers to the questions. Okay, before we go to paraphrase, I want to read these answers. I hope that in the long run I will live in urban area due to the fact that a lot of facilities are provided there. Okay. The long run I will live. Okay, so here they used I will live, so it's a future simple. Okay, I will live. It's also not bad. And in the long run, it's a nice expression. Next, yes, I have lost my 1-2 times. I was confused because of my lack of determination, but now I found my way and I'm moving in my own direction. Okay, so I think this is the answer to the first question. And here, lost my way. I think you're saying about my way 1 or 2 times. Okay, the answer is good. It contains present perfect. However, I think the vocabulary could be improved. So yeah, I think it's very repetitive. Let's go to the next one. Yeah, I would like to live in a rural area. I've been living in cities since I was 3, so I really want to move to countryside and take life easy. Okay, this one is good, really nice. I'd like to live in rural area. I've been living, so I have been living is a present perfect continuous, right? So what I want to add here is like a transition from how you're gonna move actually from your city to the countryside. Okay. Next, if I have some opportunity to get achievements, I will move to other cities, even countries. So here I don't know what achievements are you talking about, and I think it would be good to actually explain what do you mean by that. Next, yes, I have lost many times. So guys, I have lost is not an appropriate way of saying it. The correct version would be I have been lost. Okay, I have been lost. Я потерялся. I have lost это я потеряла. Но я потерялся это I have been lost. Okay, I would like to have a house in countryside with a baby lawn garden in front of it. Baby lawn garden. That's new. In the future, I would like to live in rural area because I am keen on, guys, be careful with your verbs. I am keen on agriculture and nature. Okay, that's a good argument. I think this lifestyle is suitable for me as I'm interested in growing vegetables and herbs. Okay, really nice answers, guys. Thank you for sharing. So yeah, use your vocabulary, use your grammar, and keep going. Paraphrase. Now let's talk about paraphrase. Paraphrase is the key, which means that whenever I ask you a question, would you like to, have you ever, no, let's go to the would you like. Would you like to live in the countryside. This question uses words like would you like to live in the countryside? And many people respond, yes, I would like to live in the countryside. Literally, just repeated everything I said, right? This is not the best way of doing it. It is sufficient. If you want to get 5, like IELTS 5 band, then that's okay. If you want to get 7, this is no good, no bueno. It's in Spanish. So what you have to do is actually paraphrase it and say like, if I have a decent job, I would be glad to move to the rural area, okay, something like that. So you substitute it with different grammar and different words. So use synonyms and paraphrasing techniques. Synonyms, there is a whole deal with the synonyms, to be honest. Oh my god. For example, what people mostly do is that they go to like Google Translate and just say, for example, важный, and it translates to important. And you look, or you can just Google synonyms of important, okay, in thesaurus. Then you're going to get these 3 words: fundamental, essential, and primary. And you're just going to substitute your any kind of sentence with these words, right? That's what most people do. You just look into synonyms of important and just put it there. But this is not a way of doing it. No, guys. No. Please remember that for synonyms, for paraphrasing, firstly, you have to use very, very nice, credible dictionary, like Cambridge Dictionary or Oxford Dictionary. These are 2 very reliable sources. Next, you have to look into the definition. Can you actually use it? Is it really important, or is it something else? For example, I cannot say, education is essential for me. Education is essential for me. So when I want to say education is important for me, I cannot say education is essential for me. Why? Because important doesn't mean essential. Not necessarily, doesn't directly mean essential. Essential is a basic thing that you cannot live without. What is essential to you? Sun, water, food. These 3 things are essential. Without them, you cannot live. You will die if you don't have sun and water, right? But if you say education is essential, I mean, you won't die without education, right? So this is inappropriate usage of vocabulary. Next, if you want to say education is fundamental, nice, okay, depending on what and where, depending on the context. So fundamental means a base from which everything develops. It's a starting base, and from there it kind of develops. For example, your English language is fundamental in preparing to IELTS. Without your English language, without knowing English language, you will not be able to prepare for IELTS, right? That's why I'm using a word fundamental. This is your base, fundament, okay? Just the base, fundamental thing. It's not important, it's a base, it's a first thing that, and from that it starts. There is a difference, okay? And the third thing is primary, which is the first and main. There is a bit difference. For example, imagine you have a road, okay? A road, like you're standing here and you have three roads, and you don't know where to go, to the A direction, to the B direction, to the C direction, and you're like questioning, okay, where should I go? And then a person says, a primary road is the first one. It's the A, road A. Primary meaning the first one that they constructed, okay? So not necessarily that from this A everything builds, but A is the first road. The difference between fundamental and primary is that fundamental — это фундамент, на нем мы стоим, но primary — это просто первый, не обязательно на нем стоять. Между всех — это первый, okay? I hope it makes sense. Так. I'm going to get to your questions a little later, so I don't get distracted. Okay. I remembered why did I write this slide. So this slide is about answering the questions, answering using paraphrase, okay? So the first question asks, did you usually go to public parks when you were a kid? Okay? And you want to answer using paraphrase and good grammar. Firstly, what kind of grammar you use? Here you use used to. Когда-то я это делал, okay? Used to is for past habits. That's why you say I used to hang out in the nature all the time. Next, you paraphrase your words. And for example, you don't say go to public park, not I used to go to public parks, but in different words. So it comes, I used to hang out, is like hang out, like go in nature, which is like public park, all the time when I was little. Instead of kid, I said I was little. Okay. The next one is, what kind of car do you want to buy in the future? It is my dream to buy Mercedes-Benz one day. So here I don't use car. I said buy, yeah, that's okay. Or I can say it's my dream to get Mercedes-Benz one day. It's like another paraphrase. I think I got confused in here. I wanted to say get. So also a good question and answer. How can parents help children to get organized? I believe there are multiple ways of supporting your children in organization. So here, this question is from part 3 actually, okay? But remember that paraphrase is about everything, not only about part 1, it's about every part, okay? So here is that I believe there are multiple ways of supporting instead of helping your children. I use children as well in organization. So organized and organization are two different words, okay? So one technique of paraphrase is to change like the word type from organized to organization, so which is a very nice way. So what kinds of book do you like to read? I am a big fan of Adam Silvera's work. I think his style is called young adult romance. So here I don't even use the word book, okay? I don't say I like reading these books. I say I am a big fan, which means I like Adam Silvera's work. Adam Silvera is a writer. His work and his style is young adult romance, which basically means I like reading young adult romance books. Okay. So don't repeat yourself. Use good grammar, appropriate grammar. Use good grammar, paraphrase, and remember to look into your synonyms. One also important thing that I forgot to mention here is that so there are some of the some common words like important, like good, like bad, like happy. I think important, good, and bad, 3 words are like very, very common, and I think they're like too common, and it's very nice to substitute them, okay, not to repeat them. Don't always say, I think this is important. This is important because la la la. And because many people say that, especially when you say like, this is good. Why good? Good doesn't have any kind of meaning. Это хорошо. Хорошо, нет никакого смысла, okay? You have to explain in what way it is good. Is it appropriate good? Is it a nice person? Is it like, what is good, okay? So try to avoid words good, important, and bad, and instead using some synonyms. And there are very, very confusing synonyms sometimes, but a variety of synonyms, but you have to be able to distinguish from them. So for example, for important, these are 3. For good, there are many, many, many. And the question is how to find all these synonyms, how to find these paraphrases, how to find more techniques is going to be now. So I really want to quickly present my course for you as an ad, okay, рекламная пауза, okay. I think I can switch to Russian now so that many people understand how it goes. It is my job to let you know that I have another launch of course. Ой, я же хотела на русском разговаривать. Sorry. Что я говорила? It is my job. Это моя работа. То есть я хотела представить вам свой курс, чтобы вы поняли, записались для тех, ну, кому это актуально, да, чтобы воспользовались возможностью, потому что мы запускаем его один раз в сезон. То есть сейчас сезон у нас осень, и вот осень уже заканчивается, мы его сейчас запустим, и следующий будет только, скорее всего, в феврале. Так что если вы собираетесь сдавать IELTS скоро, прошу послушать 5 минут, рекламную паузу сделать хочу и рассказать вот про курс. Окей, so IELTS Monster, что это такое? Это мой авторский курс, который я сама написала. Написала я его в этом году, то есть он обновленный, он не похож на все то, что я делала до этого. Почему я решила его возобновить? Потому что переделать, потому что у меня очень-очень много инсайтов, очень много знаний пришло после моих курсов, которые я брала в спринг-семестре, то есть Весной 22 года я закрывала несколько райтинг-курсов в Назарбаев университете, и они мне очень сильно помогли импрувнуть мой райтинг, импрувнуть мой vocabulary и грамматику в целом, из-за чего у меня был такой inspiration создать этот курс. Вот, хочу рассказать то, что курс этот онлайн абсолютно, так что неважно, где вы находитесь, вы можете стать частью нашей семьи, да. И о формате курса быстренько расскажу. У нас будет 20 уроков на программе Progress.me. Progress.me — это такая платформа, где вы занимаетесь самостоятельно. Она очень-очень интересная, она очень такая интерактивная, то есть там есть видеоматериал, то есть как вы меня сейчас видите, точно так же я буду детально объяснять тему. Например, сегодня, если у нас райтинг-тема, да, то я буду объяснять полностью райтинг с нуля, степ-бай-степ, видео, одно 5-минутное упражнение, видео упражнение. Также там есть разные PDF-ки, доки, то есть все формат на самом деле очень интересный, то есть это не просто вот так вот в зуме сидеть, да, обсуждать что-то, и не просто зубрить что-то, то есть мне кажется, формат очень классный, потому что вы сможете его пересмотреть в любое время, сохранить, то есть, не знаю, I'm in love with this. I'm really in love with the format. Also you can record your speakings, то есть можно записывать спикинги прямо на платформе, переслушивать их потом и работать над своими ошибками. Можно смотреть на свои райтинги, можно смотреть на свои ридинги, то есть на все, что у вас там есть, вы можете смотреть и делать такой thorough work with mistakes. Okay? То есть поэтому мне очень нравится формат, потому что мы используем Progress.me платформу, если все вы знаете, что это такое. Также в этом сезоне мы решили обновить формат. Раньше у нас было только вот видеоуроки, но в этом сезоне мы добавили также live sessions. Live sessions, то есть вы выполнили 3 урока, раз в неделю у вас будет one-to-one session, 1 на 1 с учителем. То есть практически у вас индивидуальные занятия. Понимаете? То есть индивидуальное занятие с учителем 1 на 1 на протяжении 7 недель. То есть 7 недель идет курс. Курс очень интенсивный, если честно, то есть вам понадобится достаточно так времени, чтобы его пройти, но он рабочий, он хорошо поднимает writing и speaking, reading и listening, там большая практика, то есть если вам нужен такой краш-курс, если вы прям хотите за 7 недель, резко за 7 недель сдать, подготовиться и быстро сдать, вот за 2 месяца, то мне кажется, это хорошая opportunity, потому что зуб даю, вам 2 месяца вот так вот хватит, чтобы просто посмотреть все, участвовать, в неделю 3 дня чалить, учиться, на one-to-one live session выходить, и через 2 месяца уже сдать и получить свой желаемый балл. То есть это все возможно. У нас люди проходили за 3,5 недели курс, это ужас просто. За 3,5 недели одна девочка прошла, то есть в 2 раза сократила и получила 7. Вот. У нас даже в каждом этом граммар и vocabulary в каждом уроке, то есть это само собой, оно должно быть, я вам уже показывала, то есть вот здесь это, например, один урок ридинга, и здесь у нас vocabulary, здесь у нас reading, везде дается vocabulary. В некоторых уроках vocabulary не просто листинг такой, да, а прям разбор, как вот здесь, как в important, например, да, какие у нас есть варианты, что и как это происходит. Так, дальше чуть побольше о формате. Также у нас, как я сказала, проходит 7 недель. У нас есть mock-экзам, то есть это пробный экзамен, где вы получите полный фидбэк. То есть мои ученики-свидетели, фидбэк получаете очень такой extended, 10-минутное аудио о спикинге, как вы написали спикинг, что можно улучшить, что сделать. Райтинг полностью, критерий написан, все все грамматика, все vocabulary, то есть все, что вам нужно, вот в одном файле вам скидывается, и вы просто, смотря на него, будете работать над своими ошибками и дальше улучшаться. Вот. Study Buddies — это очень такая интересная вещь, которую мы внедрили вот с этого года. То есть вы будете учиться не самостоятельно, так как это онлайн-формат, нужна такая поддержка, да, и особенно те, которые самостоятельно учатся, у которых нет, да, других друзей, которые готовятся. Это, мне кажется, классная возможность, потому что вы сможете со своим другом вместе друг друга проверять, мотивировать, то есть это очень такая рабочая тема. Также у нас есть спикинг-клабы. Спикинг-клаб — это для тех, он проводится раз в неделю, когда у нас есть как минимум 3 участников, то есть я его сама провожу, мы разговариваем на разные темы, практикуем спикинги, я даю там фидбэк, я даю разные советы, не только по спикингу, но и по остальным всем частям. Вот, это кратко о формате. Начало, кстати, я здесь почему-то не написала. Начало у нас будет уже 3 октября, что уже на следующей неделе, поэтому если вы ищете курс, опять-таки, который вас быстро подготовит за короткий срок, тем более сейчас у нас поджимает время, за короткий срок, если вы хотите подготовиться и взять вот достаточно или выше для того, чтобы поступить в университет, то, мне кажется, это классная возможность, потому что вы 3 октября начнете, в конце ноября вы можете уже сдать экзамен и как раз успеть по дедлайнам. Если вы сдадите еще и paper, computer-based, за 3 дня вам придет результат, и вы сможете как раз и в НУ подать, и во все другие университеты за границей, куда вы хотите, вот. А если вы, например, сдаете в следующем году или через год, тогда у вас будет opportunity сохранить весь материал и заниматься с ним еще, пока не сдадите. Здесь я написала расценки, то есть у нас всего лишь 2 тарифа в этом сезоне, это Upgraded и Solo. Upgraded за 7 недель у нас 70 тысяч, Solo за 7 недель 40 тысяч. В чем разница, теперь быстро объясню. Upgraded, туда входит все, что я только что сказала. Звонки 1 на 1, все видео, study buddy, speaking-клабы, проверка, это mock-экзам, все заходит. Но в Solo Monster заходит только 20 уроков на платформе. Кому советую Solo? Для тех, кто уже самостоятельно знает, да, шарят уже в формате, несколько раз сдавали уже, но просто застряли на одном балле и хотят продвинуться. Для них очень хорошо пойдет взять Solo и просто самостоятельно работать без никого, без проверки даже. Но в Upgraded это для тех, кто хочет намеренно поступить в университет, взять хороший балл, которые хотят именно работать над своими ошибками, что очень, кстати, важно. Вот. Также у нас действует Каспи-рассрочка. У нас есть сегодня, если вы запишете сегодня, вы можете взять Каспи-рассрочку. То есть у нас есть рассрочка на на 12-6 месяцев. То есть спокойно вы можете оплатить через рассрочку или частичная оплата. То есть как хотите, для регистрации, для того, чтобы зарегистрироваться, вы можете отправить нам любое эмоджи в ссылку, которую я сейчас отправлю в Telegram. То есть в Telegram я отправлю ссылку на WhatsApp. Окей? То есть ссылка на WhatsApp будет в Telegram, и через эту ссылку вы можете нажать, и сразу у вас автоматом откроется WhatsApp. Туда вы отправите любой эмоджи, или просто сразу напишите «хочу на курс», да любое, что-нибудь напишите, наши поймут, то, что это вы, то, что вы спрашиваете о курсе. Подробные вопросы вы можете задать, можете спросить про свой уровень, про шансы, ла-ла-ла, то есть на все это мы вам ответим. Если хотите рассрочку, сразу пишите «хочу купить рассрочку». Вот, рассрочка будет действовать всего лишь 2 дня, поэтому если кому-то актуально, то пишите нам. Сейчас я вам отправлю вот ссылочку. Буквально минутка. Буквально. Так, узнать о курсе можете по вот этому, по этой ссылке, которую я отправила вам в Telegram. Спасибо большое, что меня послушали, и теперь мы дальше будем продолжать. Так, дальше у нас part 2. I really have to switch between the languages fast, and sometimes it just a little confuses me. Okay, because like when I speak Russian a lot, it's difficult to switch to English, and when I speak English a lot, it's difficult to switch to Russian. So yeah, nevertheless. Может, попросила, как выбор, но можете сказать, какой у вас прайс. Вы можете, кстати, посмотреть прокрутить чуть-чуть назад, и вы увидите. Прайс написан, вы можете написать нам в Telegram, в WhatsApp, и вас проконсультируют. Окей? Окей, good. So for now, I want to switch this and continue talking about the speaking so that I don't waste your time, much of your time. So about speaking, part two. So in part two, you want to talk for 2 minutes. Okay, the minimum is a minute and a half. Okay, so 90 seconds minimum. You have to talk for 2 minutes, show your language flexibility, and have sufficient ideas. Language flexibility means the fact that you can use a lot of different tenses, different like grammars, like for example, if past, then past perfect, simple, continuous, la la la, future, perfect, continuous, and so on. Okay, have sufficient ideas is to be able to talk to for 1.5 minutes without without repeating yourself. You have to kind of extend them, not repeat them, and talk for 2 minutes. You also have 1 minute to prepare, and now I'm going to present 2 things you have to know in order to prepare, in order to get and ace your part 2. The first one is to use selection, vocabulary, and grammar. It is a technique to prepare for. It is a technique to prepare during your 1 minute time. Okay, 1 minute preparation time. So in 1 minute preparation time, you read the question, and while reading it, you have to think about the idea. So selection is about the idea, what you're going to talk about. For example, describe a movie that you recently watched, or describe a movie that you watched just without recently. Okay, describe a movie that you watched, and you have to think about the movie. What kind of movie are you going to talk about? Okay, and the second one is vocabulary. So what kind of vocabulary are you going to use when talking about the movie? And the third one is grammar. Is this present? Is this past? Is this future? What kind of vocabulary? Really, I don't know. Okay, so in order to ask these 3 questions, in order to fulfill these 3 criteria, these 3 sections, you have to use past, present, and future, and I recommend using this one. I think it's a very, very easy way of scoring 9, and let me explain you what that is. So past, present, future is a technique whenever you use 3 tenses in order to answer your part 2. So firstly, you start from the beginning, like you start from the past. You say something like, when I was a kid, I used to do this and that. Okay, so you start from the past, but then you come to present and say, whereas now in present days, I'm most likely to watch this kind of movies. From that, you go to future and say that I believe that in a 2-year time, if I have enough time, I would probably choose to watch like Transformers, something like that. You see? So this helps you to extend your grammar. You'll be able to use 3 tenses 3 times, and tenses for all 3 times. Also, it will give you an opportunity to extend your idea, because you're going to talk about past, present, and future. Whenever you get the card, you will know, okay, now I need to talk about present, past, and future. I need to find ideas on how to explain past, how to explain present, how to explain future. So you know what to focus on. Okay, and for your grammar, it's easy. For the vocabulary, the only thing you have to think of is the vocabulary. Okay, so in 1 minute time, you write. You divide your card into 3. In 1 minute time, you divide your card into 3. The first part is past, present, and future, and then you write. Don't write ideas. Write some of the vocabulary and grammar. What kind of vocabulary and grammar you're going to use? For grammar, for example, for the past, try to use past perfect, past simple, and used to. For the present, just use present simple, that's enough. Sometimes you can use present perfect if you can. For the future, use would like, use some conditional structure, that's all. That's your 2 minutes. Succeeding in this past, present, future, and selection vocabulary grammar will really get you a high score. I promise, this is just a win-win. So, more recommendations. Whoopsie. Okay, So more recommendations. I'm going to give you 6 recommendations, and then I'm going to briefly talk about part 3, and we're done. Okay. So recommendation 1: talk about past habits using used to. Used to is a very nice structure, and most probably you're going to talk about past. You're going to talk about past events in the past. Okay. Just events happened in the past in your party. And used to means когда-то я это делала. Okay, you no longer do that. This is important. You no longer do that. It is a past habit. It finished in the past. Okay. So example: when I was a kid, I used to watch Barbie and 12 Princesses all the time. So this is your used to structure. Important note: whenever you use used to, the second sentence, the following sentences should use would. I used to watch Barbie and 12 Princesses all the time. I would ask my mom to buy me Barbie dolls after watching these movies. My mom would buy them for me at first, but then she used to get annoyed and say that it was enough Barbie dolls for me, which is understandable because I think I was obsessed with material Barbies at the time. So what's wrong? What's happening here is that I'm using used to and would after that. Okay, don't say I used to watch, I used to ask, I used to do, my mom used to, la la la. Try to say once I used to and then would after. Next, reflect on your ideas. Reflection is really nice way of extending your vocabulary and grammar, and one way of doing that is by adding non-relative clause. Here I already used reflection, it's just I want to highlight it here. The reflection is here, which is understandable because. Very nice way of reflecting. You can say I used to watch this time, which is great because, which is cruel because, which is la la la, which is because. Reflect on your ideas, why it matters. Like, you know that reflection is nowadays, so it didn't happen in the past. You reflect on them now, you think about, this is actually understandable because da, da, da. This is how you'll be able to increase your score. Then next one is talk about the present using cohesive devices, whereas now, past, present simple. So whenever you finish with your past, you want to move to present, and this could be now with whereas now. This is just enough. Your cohesive device whereas now is enough in order to move from past to present. You say whereas now I watch more sophisticated movies such as driving a car. What I mean by that is these kinds of movies are based on real stories. I think their dialects tend to be intense, la 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 la. Okay, so I was writing this very fast, and it's not a finished version of it, okay? But I just want you to get the idea. Whereas now, I watch more sophisticated. So here, I use whereas now, it's a cohesive device, and then present simple, I watch. Next one is to use past perfect to talk about something that happened before, and here you really need to understand what and when to use past. Okay, past perfect is used separately. You don't use it with present simple. Okay, so let us think back. We said that I watched Barbie doll princess, I used to watch them, I used to do this and that. Okay, so past perfect is used only with past tenses. You cannot say whereas now I watch more sophisticated movies such as Drive My Car. I had never seen anything like it. It would be wrong, okay? You only use past perfect with past tenses. You say that I used to watch present past what I used to watch Barbie and 12 Princess all the time. I had never seen anything like it. Okay, I had never seen, so it's like a reflection, it's like an experience, okay, your emotions. I had never seen anything like this, but don't use it with present, use it with past. And actually, understanding how to use past perfect is really important. Why? Because it's, I think it's a useful tense. I use it in everyday life, honestly. I mean, you can do it without it, but with it, it just changes the whole thing. Your whole grammar is changed. Okay, provide a backstory with past perfect. This one is as well as about past perfect, about past. This is a completely new example, okay? A few weeks ago, I watched a movie called Barbie Princess. I had actually seen it when I was a kid. This is a perfect example of past perfect with past simple. When I was a kid, it's a past simple, and then I had actually seen, it's a past perfect, but I had forgotten the most of it. You see that twice I used past perfect twice in one sentence. It's a very nice option. Okay. Another very nice example, a nice strategy is to compare past with the present. When I was a kid, I used to do this, but now I'm doing this. Okay, so these all things, all 6 things, could be used separately or could be used together. Some of them could be used together, some of them not. So I just want you to know that they exist, and next time you prepare for topic 2, task 2, next time you kind of like practice your part 2, try to use all this. Okay. So this is actually the end of my slides because I didn't have time to finish this. My bad. I had a lot of midterms this week, and I'm just gonna briefly mention this, that for part 3 the examiner tests if you can actually use tenses, other tenses. Part 2 and part 3 are linked together. For example, if you are talking about movies in part 2, in part 3 you're going to talk about media or things of such like. Okay. So the important thing to understand is to okay. So no questions. Yeah. The important thing to understand is to actually use very, very nice grammar and vocabulary in part 3, and not to think about your ideas but about your language. So your questions are going to be more difficult, like, do you think now media is better than in the past? So for example, this question requires some time to think. Okay, but some of the ways of actually getting your ideas done is by using some of the like cohesive devices. Okay, some phrases, linked phrases. For example, there are certainly a variety of differences between now and the time in the past. Firstly, na na na. Secondly, na na na. Thirdly, na na na. So these cohesive devices, these phrases, like there are certainly many differences, are a nice way of introducing the subject, making it structural. Okay, so that you don't say, yeah, differences. Okay, the first difference, and the kind of in part 3 is like, like writing essay. Okay, part 3 is very similar to writing an essay. You have to have your topic sentence saying there are a lot of things, and then first thing is this, second is this, third thing is this. So you have to really show your grammar. Don't think about your ideas. Even if your ideas don't make sense, try to produce good sentences, nice sentences. Pay attention to your grammar and vocabulary, the grammar of the question. For example, if the question asks you like what are the differences between past and present, you can say that you can also use these techniques, actually, the ones that I presented. Okay, so the techniques are very nice. Yeah, like especially like when you compare past and the present, you can say, not when I was a kid I used to, but now, but like in the past it was like this, people used to do like this, however nowadays people do da da da. Okay, so this is a way of actually using it with your part 3. Okay, so sorry guys for rushing it up a little bit at the end, because the time is already at 11 p.m. and I had initially planned to start like 9 p.m. sharp, but things didn't go as planned, and I apologize for that. And I think as the first part of our speaking live, we should kind of end it here. And just once again, I want to say that, by the way guys, I forgot that for you, if you want to get the checklist of the most recent IELTS speaking test, IELTS speaking questions, you can make a screenshot of how you're here on this live and post it on stories, and then I'm going to send you a link. Okay, a link to the most recent IELTS speaking questions. If you want to get the link to the most recent questions in IELTS that we constructed by themselves, the Tomiris Academy team constructed, okay, you have to screenshot or just take a picture of me explaining something, like the link to the YouTube, or just just whatever picture and just tag me and say that you were here on this stream, and I'm going to send you. Just the important thing is to tag me, okay? If I'm there, I'm going to send you the link. I hope it's clear. I'm going to duplicate it to the Telegram channel. Sorry again for rushing this up, and for those who are interested in the course, you can sign up already today. As I finish my presentation, I am going to answer your questions. I am going to talk to you on WhatsApp, so the link is there. Please send us messages, send us questions, where we'll be glad to answer. And yeah, Каспи рассрочка действует, so if you want, please join us, join the team, and yeah, apply to university you want. It was a pleasure to see you again. So some of the people, I know them, so thank you so much. Let me say my goodbyes. Goodbye, bye. Please write your feedback, write your review. If there are no reviews, I don't do anything like that again. Okay, so like I had once a session that didn't get like a lot of reviews, so I just changed the format. Okay, so your reviews motivate me to do something like this more often. That's why please write me reviews, any kind of feedback, post it on stories. Okay, let me get promotion from you guys. Thank you so much for watching, and have a nice night.